Hey everyone, it's Eric. I'm back with another video. This time around I got the books behind me and I'm going to be talking about books. I try to read as much as possible. The goal is always a book a week. I don't usually hit that these days. Once upon a time when I had a steady job where I had 5-hour-long lunch breaks every single week and I could generally sit there and read for 40 minutes, hey, I got through a lot more books. Additionally, I have tried to minimize the size of the books, so these are really not that thick. I do not tend to read doorstop novels anymore. I don't need 600 pages, 700 pages of something that I'm going to slog through for 2 months. If that's your thing, great. It's no longer my thing. And I, as a music fan, I'm very much into the punk rock, get it done, get it fast. We don't need to drag this out. I'm the same way with my books. So, starting off with what I'm reading right now. This is Robert Parker's A Savage Place. This is a 80s Spencer novel. Spencer was the character that kind of put him on the map. It was what he wrote in the beginning. I came to Parker through the show Spencer for Hire on television. I recently got the first season on DVD and it was worth a revisit. Not only to see those 80s Boston locations, but as with the novels, to pick up on a lot more of the cultural things of the era that were going on, which went over my head as a teenager. The first probably 10 or 12 Spencer novels are solid. There's a midpoint there from about 77 to 87 that they're exceptional, and falls in that era. Definitely check it out. If you're at all interested in the great detective novels of the 1980s, Spencer, fast, pacey read, no bullshit, well worth your time. So the next thing I gotta censor here a little bit. Okay, this is Ori Hitt's She Got What She Wanted from Black Gat Books. As you can see, I have a whole bunch of hard case crime books here, and I'm going to do a separate video about the hard case crime books that I would like to read this year, because you can see the ones that are kind of pulled forward. Those are the ones I have yet to read, and there's a couple I have yet to pick up. By the way, that's all comics for the most part. And up top, you can see my collection of the Parker novels by Richard Stark, Donald Westlake. I'll talk about him in a bit. And below here you can see there is some other stuff which I will also get into. Anyway, Ori Hitt was a writer from New York, small town in New York State, who mainly wrote what was sleazy erotica at that time period. And as with indie film directors or low budget film directors of the day, people that put up money for this stuff, as long as you hit the count for the sex scenes or the sleaze scenes that were going to sell these books, you could write whatever you wanted. So he tended to inject blue-collar, working-class, small-town observations. And I've read a couple of his books, and they're all pretty solid, so I wanted to get that. And I'm a fan of Black Gat Press, which is an offshoot of Stark House, who do reprints of lost and forgotten and overlooked authors of mainly the 50s and 60s. But anyway. All right, so my books are down here. I'm going to try not to look away from the camera as much as possible. So, speaking of hard case crime, I've got, and I've been meaning to get back to reading these, the Earl Stanley Gardner books written under the name A.A. Fair. This is a Lamb and Cool mystery. I have a whole bunch of these. I think the third hard case crime was one of these reprints, and I think one of the most recent ones is actually one that was never printed back in the day. These are just cool detective stories from the 40s, mainly. And let me put that back. Okay. So I've been meaning to get back to reading these, and that's a great cover, by the way. Also, once again, I don't need 400 pages. Give me the story. Let me spend time with the characters, because when it comes down to these procedural mysteries, I don't really care about the mysteries. I care about the character interactions. That's what it becomes about for me. All right, how am I doing this? Okay, so next up, Nice Weekend for a Murder by Max Allan Collins. Collins is a writer that's been around for quite a long time, since the late 70s. It's only even in the last couple of years I've actually started reading his stuff. Once again, hard case crime, whole bunch of his Corey books, and we'll talk about those in a moment. And this one is a Mallory story. I read the previous one to this, which was called Kill Your Darlings, which actually kind of makes fun of Robert Parker and the 1980s detective genre writers. So I really enjoyed Kill Your Darlings, so I wanted to get this one, which was the follow-up. And this kind of, I'm not going to say hard-boiled, but kind of not quite a cozy either. The Mallory character is a mystery writer who stumbles into murders, and they actually talk about the ridiculousness of that. So Collins is probably best known at this point for Road to Perdition, and then for the Corey books. This is primary target. I've actually got 2 copies of this, another hardcover, one's in hardcover. Corey was recently made into a television series that it's just about to hit DVD when I will watch all of it. It's about a hitman, and once again, good, fast, pacey, zippy crime novels. Not really mysteries, but crime. Okay, so the series of Corey, which I am trying to catch up with, leads me to talking about books that are in a series that I intend to read. One of the series I've been making my way through for the last couple of years is Ed McBain's 87th Precinct novels. These are classic police procedurals, started in the 50s, went to McBain's death. Once again, not real thick doorstops, although some of the later ones are, because they kind of not only reflect the changes in the style of crime writing, but also the publishing of crime stories. Just follows the cast of characters that are in the precinct and their investigation of various crimes. So the 2 that I've got on deck for this year, and I might read more, this one is 80 Million Eyes, and the other one is Fuzz, which I'm interested to get to because I also recently got, and I have yet to open, but I've seen it before, the Blu-ray based on the book from the 70s. I mean, just look at that cast: Yul Brynner, Raquel Welch, Tom Skerritt, Burt Reynolds. It's not an amazing film, but I dig it because I like seeing the crime film police procedural genre as portrayed through the decades. Okay, another series that I had been meaning to get back to is the DKA File novels by Joe Gores. Unfortunately, I somehow misplaced my copy of the second book, so I'm just going to skip on to the third. This is going to be a running theme somewhere in the last couple of years. Either I donated a bunch of books I didn't intend to, or they got put somewhere that I didn't intend them to go to, and I can't find them. So, anyways, Skip Tracing, 70s. This guy wrote one of his books, also has a chapter that is shared with the Parker books by Westlake/Stark. So I've been meaning to get back to these, and I love those covers. Another series that I'm missing the next one in the reading of is the Travis McGee books. So I'm skipping Girl in the Plain Brown Wrapper and jumping straight to Dresser and Indigo. McDonald's another guy whose books I want to get through at some point. Definitely becoming kind of a lost writer at this point in time. I mean, I have so many of his books that I got for either $2 or $3, or I pulled out of the recycling bin, or that I got as part of a bag sale because people are moving away from his stuff, but very much not even a detective story. His character is a salvage expert, and the deal is that he uses quasi-legal or slightly illegal means to help people recover property that was legally stolen from them. And they're entertaining, and they're part of their time, and they're not perfect, but I'm trying to get through them and enjoy them. The last one I read was not great. The earlier ones I've really liked, so we'll see about Dresser and Indigo. All right. Let's see, what have I got here? Speaking of John D. MacDonald, here's one of his one-offs that I've been meaning to read, Murder in the Wind. I've got a whole bunch of his one-offs, not series characters, so wanted to check that out. Carter Brown. I just love that cover. This looks like a quick zippy read. This is like a 60s Darkest Hollywood LSD kind of hippie exploitation detective thing that I kind of dig that kind of stuff. Gonna check that out. I'm not gonna worry about the editing of the rest of this. Okay, so a writer that I've been meaning to get back to reading, whose stuff I have read. I mentioned Westlake, also known as Richard Stark. There's all the Stark books up there. I'm missing 2 of the last 3, and I want to read those ones in order, so I am holding off getting back to them until I have procured copies of the 2 I'm missing. But his standalone books, The Axe, I've been meaning to read this for a while. Fugitive Pigeon. The Bank Shot, which is the second of the Dortmunder novels. I read the first one, Hot Rock, a couple of years ago. It's great. I want to get back to reading these. So these are kind of comedic crime heist tales. So these are the opposite of the Parker novels, which are brutal, straight ahead, no nonsense. These are comedic. And then Levine, was just another random one of his that I grabbed from my stack that I'm going to hopefully get to this year. And entering the final stretch here. Okay. Another 70s crime writer, Brian Garfield. Been meaning to get back to his stuff. This is Recoil. He was probably best known for writing Death Wish and Hopscotch. Good stuff. I've read a couple of his books and enjoyed them. This is Truth of the Matter by John Lutz. This is one of the Black Lizard books from the 80s. I've got a whole bunch of these. I'm going to do a separate video on my favorite covers, at least, and the ones that I want to get to reading. This is where Jim Thompson was rediscovered. This is where a lot of the classic writers of the 40s and 50s and 60s, and the Hard Case Crime and the Star House books would not exist without these. Elmore Leonard. I have a whole bunch of Elmore Leonard books I haven't read, and this is one of them, Unknown Man 89, that I would like to get back to. 42nd Street. Yes, this is going to be a thicker book. This is going to be one that I'm going to get to at some point in time. A friend of mine recommended this a couple of years ago. I bought it, still haven't got to it. So maybe this will be the year. And then finally, Canary by Duane Czerwinski, whose name I can never pronounce. Sorry. Another thick one, but this guy is a great writer. I enjoy his stuff quite a bit. So been meaning to get to this one. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me bumble through part of this. I'm going to do more book and music videos in the future. So tell me what you like. Tell me which of these books you're interested in, if any. Hit the like button and subscribe if you're into that. And tell me what you plan to read in 2017. I'll catch you all later.